What's going on, everybody? It's Stas here. Welcome back to another video. So in today's video, we're going to be doing another overall market update, looking at the Dow Jones, the S&P 500, as well as the NASDAQ Composite. And we're going to talk about another trade that I made today, one trade today. And if you guys have been watching my videos, I'm sure you could probably guess what ETF I ended up trading today. And we're just going to talk about some other stocks, some other movers that we saw today in the overall stock market. And I'm going to send you guys on your way. So for those of you guys that are new to my channel, my name is Stas, and I make videos dealing with swing trading, day trading, long-term investing, and my personal philosophies and strategies when it comes down to investing and trading in the stock market. So for those of you guys that want to learn more about that, feel free to drop a like, leave a comment, and subscribe, and follow me on Instagram as well as on Twitter, and join our Discord group chat as well as our Facebook group. All of those are linked down below in the description box. And if you guys want to be in contact with our community throughout the trading week, make sure to join that Discord group chat, guys. I'm very active in there, and we have about 250 members that are talking about stocks, trading, investing, strategies, news, and all that different type of stuff, dealing with the stock market and dealing with this entire channel, what we talk about on a day-to-day basis. So if you guys want to join that, again, all the links are down below in the description box. And let's start with today's video. So overall market update today, guys. Pretty solid. We had a green day to close off the day today on Friday, November 16th in 2018. So let's just look at the Dow Jones first of all and talk about some technical points here. So if you guys have been watching my videos over the past couple of days, I've been talking about how the Dow Jones is, on a pullback. Obviously, we've been seeing the sell-offs, the sell-off that the overall market has had, the Dow, the S&P and the NASDAQ, and that's obviously dragged down the overall market, obviously, right? So we've seen a drop from 2,600 all the way down to here. But in yesterday's video, we were talking about if the Dow Jones is going to hold above this trend line that we drew out in yesterday's video. And it actually ended up bouncing there perfectly after yesterday's green day. And today, another strong green day pushed us above the 50 SMA, which was that resistance point that we were talking about yesterday. So pretty much, guys, this trend is, solidified as of now due to the break above this 50 SMA and due to two consecutive green days after the bounce on this trend line. So all things are looking good in terms of the Dow Jones, and we're going to look at some news that may have pushed up the overall stock market in a couple of minutes. But let's just do our technical analysis on the overall indexes first. So let's take a look at the S&P 500. Same thing as the Dow Jones, guys. We took the big sell-off, right? We had about 4, 5, 6 straight red days. And, I was talking about how the S&P might hold above this red trend line. So yesterday we had that green day, and today, again, solid green day. Well, not as solid as the Dow Jones, but a pretty decent green day in the S&P 500, up about $6 at the close, up about 0.2%. And this one was kind of struggling to get above the 50 SMA, but, the fact that we closed green, that's a decent step towards a possible break above this simple moving average on Monday or Tuesday's trading. So, overall, guys, the S&P and the Dow Jones, they both stayed above this trend line here. They're both moving up, slowly popping up above the 50 simple moving average. So let's take a look at the NASDAQ very quickly before we do take a look into some news that, occurred today in the stock market. So the NASDAQ, guys, we were talking about how it was holding above this support at about $6,750. And today we saw a little red day, and this is the NASDAQ future. This one's pushing down, heading after the market closed. It's down about $20. But, if we take a look at the 1 day, 1 minute chart on this NASDAQ future, we noticed that, pretty much today, I don't know why my thinkorswim is being a little, freezy right now. Come on. I don't know why it's freezing, guys. I hate when this happens. But, today, guys, from the beginning of the day, what we see here is that the NASDAQ was pretty much having a nice, pretty good, strong green day, right? Solid pushback day in terms of the NASDAQ. And we started off the day pretty much at about $6,800, ended up pushing up to about $6,900. We pulled back, bounced on the 180 SMA, and now we're pushing up after market hours in terms of this future. So overall today, guys, the markets, they had a recovery day. They had another green day. They had another strong, solid push up above those simple moving averages. And if we're looking at, the overall NASDAQ right now, like I said, guys, we held above nicely this support level here. We popped above the EMA. Next step I want to see, is the break above this 50 SMA and eventually a pop out of this resistance point of the 180 simple moving average that has had trouble getting above over the past couple of days. So, a nice return above here would be a great sign. And, mostly, we're going to be waiting for Apple to make a big push back up to the 200s, in my personal opinion, before we do see, NASDAQ pop up above here. So, that's what's happening over in the overall markets right now in terms of a technical standpoint. Now, let's take a look at some potential news or some news that potentially pushed up the stock market today. So, stocks climbed following a choppy day of trading. U.S. equities jumped with the Dow briefly gaining more than 200 points on Friday afternoon. This was probably around midday. The S&P rose about 0.46%. This was earlier on in the day as of about 3:30 p.m., so about 30 minutes before the market closed. And, this is the interesting thing right here. The Dow jumping after Trump suggested Friday afternoon that he was hopeful that the U.S. and China could strike a deal on a trade. The whole trade deal, the whole trade war between China and the U.S. This is a very, very good sign. And we've been talking about this in previous videos, a couple of previous videos. And this is a very big, negative cloud, just a negative cloud around the overall stock market right now, guys. And this is a lot of people's fear stems from this, the trade war, Trump, China, the tariffs, all these different things, in my personal opinion, are one of the main causes of this correction that we've been seeing in the overall stock market. So the point, the fact that Trump is suggesting this is a very good sign, and this could have potentially shot up the Dow, the overall markets today on the 16th of November. So very good sign there, guys. Some other news in terms of the overall markets. Crude oil prices advanced for the third day in a row, but still ended the week lower by 6%. We've been seeing how bad crude oil has been getting crushed over the past couple of weeks. I believe it was at about $72, $73 about like a month or two ago. Now it's all the way down to 56, and this is getting crushed. So this is all more about, big oil, crude oil. So I don't really want to get, into this, but, the main news that I want you guys to focus on is the Trump suggesting Friday afternoon that, a trade deal could possibly be coming with China. Very, very big news in the overall stock market and just the overall, globe, right? The whole world. This is huge news, for the economy. So I'm sure you guys guessed what trade I personally made today. And yes, that was in UGAZ. And we were talking about this ETF in yesterday's video and pretty much this entire week because honestly, guys, every single day this entire week, I've been able to trade UGAZ successfully and make pretty solid money and pretty solid percentage on my money, in this trade. So I kind of called this one out in yesterday's video. For those of you guys that remember, for those of you guys that were paying attention, I was talking about how natural gas was, right above this, support level here on the 180 SMA on this 20-day chart, because for those of you guys that have not been paying attention to natural gas as a whole, it saw a massive sell-off yesterday. It was down about 80 cents. It was ridiculous. DGAZ went ballistic yesterday, and today was a pretty solid, very strong, solid day for UGAZ, which is the inverse, right? And we pretty much called it out here when it was like, check the timestamp on this, guys. Yesterday, 11:15 at 4 p.m., we closed the day, the market closed, and natural gas was at about $3.90. And this was right above here on the 180-day SMA on the 20-day chart. So what I was waiting for today, guys, pre-market hours, was to see whether or not natural gas was going to hold above here. And my gut feeling was telling me that it was due to the massive sell-off that we did have yesterday. And that's actually exactly what ended up happening. Heading into the market today on the 16th of November in 2016, or 2018. Oh my God, guys, 2016. No, Stas, that's not the date. It's not 2016. But yeah, let's take a look. So check this out, guys. We saw it was at 390, which was at that support level we were just talking about, and this was at about 7:30 a.m. today. Then we saw a massive, massive price hike all the way to 436. within about 2-3 hours. Literally at 10:15, guys, it was at $4.36 from $3.90. So pretty much, guys, I saw this massive move in natural gas, early on in the day in pre-market hours, and I was pretty much eyeing up UGAZ during that particular time, right? We noticed that it was starting to push up pre-market pretty heavily. It started to break yesterday's, resistance points. One here, it eventually got rejected here, but I already sold at this point. But, we opened up the market, and UGAZ was at about $130. Now, once I started to see a nice push up towards the EMA line and a break above the EMA line, I ended up taking up a position right here at about 135-ish. It pulled back. I held through that. I pretty much held through all the way to about like 10 o'clock, and then we started to see some nice massive push in natural gas, and this was around the time when it was shooting up to about, what was that price? Like $4.36 or something like that. I added a little bit more money here, right at about 138, started to push up here above the EMA line, started to flatten out, but I ended up just taking my profits at about like $145. So my average position was at about like 137-ish. So let's say for 137 up to about 145, I hit my 5% goal on that one trade. So for those of you guys that don't know, my daily goal is about 4 to 5%. And there you go, right? I hit it in one trade, pretty much stopped trading for the rest of the day at that point. Then we saw a big pullback in, natural gas and UGAZ, and then we ended off the day very strong in terms of this ETF. And if we look at natural gas, guys, and what I'm going to be watching for next week, just to give you guys a little pointer right now, is, let's check out this 20-day chart for natural gas. What we were looking at, early on in the day, what we did see was that this got rejected by this 50 SMA on the 20-day 1-hour chart. And this is what I was talking about, in the Discord group chat, and what I told everyone and what I was personally looking for earlier on in the day today. So we got rejected there strong, but then we held this higher low from the previous low, and now we're breaking above the 50 SMA, and we're continuing to move up in terms of natural gas. So if this pattern is able to hold, guys, I think next week will be a very strong week for natural gas and UGAZ once again, and we could potentially test these, next highs at about $4.75. This next resistance, then up here at about $4.90. So that's what I'm looking at in terms of natural gas for next week, guys. Pay attention to that 50 SMA on the, the 20-day 1-hour chart, because it's pushing up above there pretty nicely as of now. So some other key movers today, guys. We saw Tesla. It busted a nice move today, up about 1.7%. Not a crazy move, but we were talking about how this consolidation point here in terms of Tesla was looking very nice. Let me pull it up here. So we were talking about this consolidation point here looking very nice for Tesla as either a point where it's going to pop up to make another high, continue to push up, or if it's going to sell off. So we got a scare earlier on in the week that it was selling off a little bit, but from there, it recovered now and it's pushing up above, or it's testing that resistance at about 350. So keep an eye on Tesla for sure next week to see if it's able to, top this high here at 356 and maybe test that 380 level that we saw earlier on in the day. So in terms of other stocks, guys, that I was watching today, not much movement, right? Apple, we saw 1% day to day. We're getting back up to that 50 SMA, but keep an eye on here, whether or not it's going to break above this level, because that's been a resistance in the past. So, Square, we were watching this one, took a sell-off, right? AMD, pretty decent sell-off today. Micron and, NVIDIA were also hit. I don't know what Micron closed the day on. Let me just check that out. Yeah, it was down about 1% because the semiconductor stock NVIDIA posted terrible earnings yesterday with terrible guidance, and that pretty much sent the whole industry down. The semiconductors, the main ones that we watch on this channel being AMD, MU, and NVIDIA. So those got sent down pretty far today. Facebook hit a 52-week low, which is something I actually want to happen. I want Facebook, literally, guys, I want Facebook to keep falling because I want to build a strong position down in the 120s, even the 110s. If we get down there, guys, I'd be the happiest person on earth because I love Facebook so much long term. It's absolutely crazy. So if I can build a position down in the 120s, down in the 110s, because I'm already in at the 160-ish, the 160-ish range right now. So I want to pick up some more shares down in the 130s, mid 130s, even high 120s if we do get there, because in 3 to 5 years, guys, this position, I personally think, is going to be, I could probably double my money, in my personal opinion, within 3 to 5 years if I play it right. So that's why I'm being patient in terms of buying Facebook stock for my long-term portfolio. I haven't really added shares in a couple of weeks. I'm going to wait to see next week to see if Facebook is able to possibly go to the mid 130s. That's my next buying range right now for Facebook. And if it gets to the 120s again, guys, I'm no lie going in pretty hard on Facebook if we get into the 120s. But in my personal opinion, that's a long shot right now because of the massive fall we've seen. But, in the stock market, anything is possible, guys. Did anyone think UGAZ was going to fly like 80% one day? No one thought that, but it happened, right? So things can happen that you don't even, you can't even fathom, that you can't even think possible, but it happens, right? So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, feel free to drop a like, leave a comment, and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter, and join our Discord group chat as well as our Facebook group. All of those are linked down below in the description box. And please do not buy or sell based off of my opinion or anybody else's out there, because that's not how you're going to become a self-sufficient trader over time.